Michael'The Silk Olajide for Sugar, Silk, and Stretch, and I'm talking to the venerable, the great Bruce Silverglade of the Gleason's Boxing Gym in Brooklyn, New York, and we go back a few years.
We go back a few years. It's a real pleasure having you, believe me.
Thank you.
And I don't want to insult you, but I have to say that it's great having the old timers. You're now considered one of the old timers.
No, yes. Yes,
but it's really a pleasure having you back.
Thank you. I mean, I love Gleason's. It was my first stop when I came to New York in 1985, and then we came back again in '86. And you have so much history. You had a beautiful history with Gleason's. When did you become a part? When did you start Gleason's? When did you become a part?
Well, I didn't start. I'm the third owner actually. The gym started in the Bronx in 1937.
37.
And we lost our lease in the Bronx in 1974 to relocate to Manhattan.
Okay.
We're in the corner of 30th and 8th, right by Madison Square Garden. And great location, right next to the garden. That's it was also the heyday of boxing.
Yes.
That's when all the real good fighters were there. Which I'm including you part of. The old timers.
Yeah, the old timers.
Then we lost our lease there, and in the end of 1985, we relocated here to Brooklyn. This area is now called Dumbo.
Yes.
It stands for Down Under the Manhattan Bridge Overpass, and currently ranked the 4th wealthiest neighborhood in all 5 boroughs.
Wow.
Which is quite a difference from when you
started over here.
I'm the oldest tenant in this area. There were 2 other businesses here before I moved over, both of which have gone out of business. There was no residential. There were a few squatters in the buildings, but nobody legally was living or working here. Now the 2 businesses that were here before me have gone out of business, so I'm the old man.
You're the long-lasting one.
When I call you the old timer, I'm older. I'm the older timer. But I came over here in the end of 1985. 3 years after I purchased 50% of the gym. I became Ira Becker's partner in 1982.
I remember.
And Ira and I had some good times. We really loved Manhattan.
Yes.
When we lost our lease, we were very, very upset because Manhattan is the center of the universe. Who wants to go to Brooklyn? Now Brooklyn's a hot area. Again, back in the 80s,
it wasn't that.
It was not a hot area.
I remember making the trek out here, the one train over to High Street, having to walk down at nighttime going back. That's the perilous time.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough area. And there were no streets. There were no sidewalks. No street lights. It was a dark and danky area.
Cutting through the park, you're taking your life in your own hands.
Summertime wasn't as bad because it was later. But in the winter time, boy, it was brutal. It's funny because everybody says how scary it was, and it was. But we had very few problems. Now, it's the 4th wealthiest neighborhood in the city. Every day there's muggings and break-ins and people stealing money.
People go with the money.
Of course. But it's always ironic to me that everybody says, be careful. Nothing ever happens.
It's not an issue
now
anymore.
It's nice areas. Really be careful.
There's some beautiful hotels over here. You have the Soho houses right here. Beautiful restaurants.
The Barclays Center opened up. That brings a lot of really nice traffic. There's the park, and they've been renovating the park over here in Brooklyn, very similar to the West Side Highway in that area in Manhattan. So it's great. The problem, my biggest problem now is congestion and parking. It's terrible. Again, there were no streets, no sidewalks. You could park anywhere you wanted back then. Now you can't find parking. So those are good problems.
Yes, absolutely.
But to answer your question, 1982 is when I became a partner with Ira Becker, and about 5 years prior to that, I got involved with boxing in the amateurs. I became the president of amateur boxing. So I've been involved for over 50 years now.
So when was your first boxing experience? Was it something you just loved? Was it something that you practiced?
Grew up with it. I'm from Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay.
My father was the director of health, recreation, and welfare for the city of Trenton. Okay. Boxing was his specialty. He was an athlete his whole life and in college, and So he loved boxing. He was the manager for the 1980 United States Olympic team, as well as the 1984 Olympic team. And so I grew up in the boxing gym and hung out there. Joe Frazier, when he was a kid from Philly, used to come into our. We had a PAL.
Yes.
My father was one of the originators for the police athletic.
Okay.
So we had a PAL gym in Trenton.
Yes.
And Joe and his team used to come in all the time and train here and spar and stuff. So I go back with a lot of these guys, and I always loved the sport. You know, you can't beat boxing conditioning.
Yes.
And what people don't realize, it's more mental than it is physical.
Yes.
So you get yourself in a great physical condition, but mentally you become so alert, and so good, and so focused that it's a terrific workout. So I've always enjoyed it. I went away to college. I went to Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania, and I graduated and said, "Oh, I'm not doing what my dad did. I'm my own man. This is the 60s. I can't do what my dad did, you know?"
Yeah.
So I went to work. I was recruited, and I went to work for Sears Roebuck and Company, the retailer, and realized very quickly that I hated it. Yeah. And my father was right to begin with. So I called him up one day and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm making a pretty good buck here, but I hate it. I need a hobby." Yeah. So I got involved with the amateurs. I became a referee and a judge, and as I said, eventually I worked my way up to becoming the president of amateur boxing in New York, and that caused me to go into the different gyms and see different people. And I knew Ira from Gleason, and one day I was in his office and we were having coffee together, and he said, "Hey, I'm looking for a partner." I said, "Don't look any further. I'm your partner."
That's out. So Ira was a part owner of Gleason.
He was the owner. He was the second. The original owner was a fellow by the name of Bobby Gleason. There's a little store on him too. I'll tell you about him. Okay. But he after he relocated into Manhattan, he became ill, and he was in his 80s and gave up the gym. And no one in his family owned it. So Ira, who was a collegiate champion, he went to Alabama and he was a national champion when colleges had a lot of boxing. Yes. And so he said, "Hey, I want the gym." So he bought the gym from the family.
Do you remember how much?
I don't, but I know that I paid under $20,000 for my half. Whoa. So he probably paid less than that.
Than that.
Again, we're talking about the 70s and 80s. Right? So he bought the gym, and then he was looking for a partner. So I became his partner. Then Ira passed away in 1991, and I bought his family out. So I've been the sole owner since 1991. Wow. Let me tell you about Bobby Gagliardi. Bobby, his real name was Gagliardi. And he was a cab driver, and he was training people. And the hot gym back then was Stillman's, which was in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue. And all the great fighters went to Stillman's. That was the place. Okay? So Bobby didn't want to be part of that. He wanted to have his own gym. Yeah. So he looked around and found this place in the Bronx. And back then, this was 1937. The Irish and the Italians did not get along. They butted heads more than that. Okay. So Gagliardi, who was Italian, said, "Listen, this gym is in an Irish area. I can't call it Gagliardi. They'll burn the place down." So he picked the name out of the sky. He picked the name Gleason, so it sounded Irish. So he called it Gleason's Gym. So then it got hot. He had a guy by the name of Phil Tanova, became a champion, and right after him was Jake LaMotta, and he became a hot gym. So
Jake LaMotta trained here.
Yeah, he was our first world champion. And he Bobby then legally changed his name to Gleason. So it was known as Bobby Gleason's Gym. And then when I bought it, I trademarked it to Gleason's Gym. But it was known as Bobby Gleason's Gym. And he was Italian. And our first two champions, LaMotta and Terranova, were Italian. But it didn't matter. But back then, as you know, you get a hot gym, you get a couple champions, and all of a sudden everybody else was
to be there.
But one of the great things though about the original gym, they had great trainers. They had all the good trainers there. And then what happened? Stillman's closed. Lou Stillman passed away, and again, nobody wanted to continue Stillman's. So Gleason became the hot gym. And we filled in where Stillman's left off, and then fortunately we got some great champions and people were training there. Then when we relocated to Manhattan, right next to the garden, so again they called Madison Square Garden the Mecca of boxing. Everybody, as you know, wanted to fight at the garden, and people from around the world, 10-round fighters from around the world would take a 4-round fight just so they could fight at the garden. And anybody that came in, trained right there. And again, big difference between then and today. The fights were made with a handshake.
Yes.
All the trainers were there, the managers were there, the garden guys were there, different promoters from the different arenas and stuff were all there. And say, okay, you're fighting so Friday night.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
You didn't say, is he left-handed, is he right-handed, how much I'm making this? How much do I have to weigh, what time do I have to be there?
Exactly.
That was it.
Yep.
Okay. And the fights took place. It was a time. So I was all part of this, and it was so great watching all this. Roberto Duran, who was my favorite. We had a lot of good ones. We had Ali and all these other fellows over there. I just love the dedication and the tenacity that Duran had. And there was only 2 rings over there.
Yes.
And you had to fight to get a ring. And it wasn't some guy coming in the street. It was some great champion.
Exactly.
Okay, once he's in the ring, he's got to wait for this great champion that's in the ring.
I remember the perch up top. That was so great.
Oh, that was great. People would come in at lunchtime, and go up there and eat lunch, have a drink, and
they'll watch everything going on in the ring. There are 2 rings there.
I think it was Midtown South. I think it was Midtown South. When Roberto Duran or Gerry Cooney was fighting, you couldn't get into get into the street, and the cops had to come over and block off the street. It was amazing. It was amazing times. So then, we lost our lease over there, and what happened? We were in a 17-story building. We were the only tenant. We were on the first floor, and eventually the building was sold, and the owner came to me one day and said, "Bruce, come with me." Brings me up to the 17th floor, and all the columns, you could hear the speed bags and all the noise. He said, "Hey, I can't sell the condo in here with all this noise." So we had to leave. Very disappointed, but we had to leave. And then we came over here, and we met a fellow by the name of David Valentis. He actually came to us. He realized that we found out that we were looking for a place. So he brought us over to this dilapidated area. He said, "Listen, I'm going to gentrify this place. It's going to be really, really nice." And brought us to his office. He had this mock-up of how beautiful this area is going to look like. Ira and I are looking at it, who the hell cares? This is dilapidated. He gave us 20,000 square feet for like dirt cheap.
Wow.
I think the original one was like $3,000 for 20,000 square feet, right? So Ira and I said, yes, we only cared about the money. We didn't care about everything else. So, and then we started with 4 rings. We ended up with 5, but we started with 4 rings. And again, it was, we had a monopoly on boxing, so we didn't really care about the area.
People
they had to come to the center. Today, my clientele has so drastically changed. Back then, I was 99.9% fighters. So we had 4 rings, and you would have a champion training in every ring. And depth. I mean, it wasn't like one good champion in this weight class and one in that. You had depth in all these weight classes.
You had a lot of great contenders too.
I mean, how many guys were really great that never made a championship? For any number of reasons, luck and getting injured and management, poor management. But there were so many good fighters. And then also in the amateurs, the Golden Gloves was hot. That was the ticket everybody wanted to be on. Okay? And you had so many people in New York City that fought at the Golden Gloves that didn't follow up in pros. They became lawyers and doctors and just politicians, everything. Everybody, that was the thing. The Golden Gloves. So all these guys trained there, and you had all these pros in there, and it was the heyday of boxing.
And you started, one time you opened up early and you stayed there, because I remember you were a pillar. When you came in through that door over on 30th, you came to the door, both you and Ira were up top there in a little perch, and you oversee everything.
It was great.
Yeah.
You know, again, you know, you have a chance, so you understand what I'm talking about. I love my job.
Yes.
I just love my job.
It's not a job when you love it, right? It's not work.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I still, okay, I open the gym up at 5. I get it done 4 to 5, 7 days a
Every
week.
morning. Yeah.
I don't have to. I got really good people that work for me.
Yes.
But this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Come in early because I can get my paperwork done. I can't during the day you know what's going on. And I work out every day. I work out for 1 hour.
Oh, sweet.
7 days a week.
Show me what's your workout?
Right now, right now, it's strictly cardiovascular. I do some weights, very light weights, and I do treadmill and bicycle for an hour.
Perfect.
Prior to that, I mean, I used to move around with bags and stuff.
Yeah.
I never had a fight. I never had to throw around at your fight. I did a lot of sparring, but realized that I was getting killed in sparring. No sense going into the ring. Not for me. Okay. But I love training. I love the training. But I love being here. I love the people that come in here. You know, you would expect it's a boxing gym, so you're going to see champions and good boxers. But the politicians, the actors, the actresses, the people that want to just come in for. We've had bar mitzvahs up here. We've had weddings up here. Corporate events. So you never know. You never know who's going to come in. So it's just, to me, it's a fun job that I like to be here. And it's changed. Okay, the boxing scene in New York has changed. It's no longer the hotbed.
Yes.
And I blame it on money. The cost of doing business, hotels and food and rental of arenas and insurance is out of sight in New York. So places have gone to other locations. A good example is Las Vegas, of course. We were a consortium of arenas or a consortium of hotels and casinos will pay you the location fee to bring the event to them. Whereas if you want to go into Madison Square Garden, you're looking at $200,000 for a night, okay, where you get 4 walls, nothing else. You get no concessions, you get nothing. Okay? Then the hotels in Vegas give you free food and hotel rooms as part of the packaging. Here, you put up a hotel room, you know, it's a lot of money. So anyway, that's part of it. Then the other problem, fighters no longer want to fight in New York because of the taxes.
The taxes.
I mean, if you're doing a not such an eventful event, you're making $100 grand, you're making $200 grand, it's one thing. But if you're talking about making $16, $17 million, you don't want to pay city tax and state tax.
And
we're all paying federal. We don't have to pay federal. But if you go to Vegas, you go to Texas, you go to LA, there's no city tax and state tax. So you're saving 11-12% of $16 million. Is a lot of money. So you know, it's tough getting the fights in New York. So as a business owner, you can't sit back on the laurels and say, well, it's Gleason's gym, big reputation, everybody's going to come here. Today, as I said earlier, I had 99.9% fighters. Today, I still have fighters, probably 15% of the people up here are fighters, amateur pro fighters. I have children in here today, which we never had before. I have women. We were one of the first gyms to allow women. But in a heyday,
you had like 1 or 2, right? You had like 1 or Jackie Tonawanda.
Well, there were a couple pros because the pros were allowed. Iran's sister, she was hot as nails at Duran. And I have Lady Tiger.
Yes, I remember her.
She was great.
And the blonde girl was really good.
She was from
I don't know something.
I'll think. Anyway, so we had a few women. But today, half my membership are female. And children and businessmen that don't fight. Now the amateurs have seen the light bulb, and they have a program called Master Boxing for businessmen and over 40 years of age. And so you see some of the guys fighting and stuff. But again, it's not what it was. So when I see you, I say, great, man, I love seeing you. You know, Hector, who trained you, passed away. Hector Roca passed away a couple of years ago. He was really, when he passed away, he was the last of my, old timers. And He was great.
Hector was incredible.
He was something else.
Yeah, he really was. Let's jump into Hector for a second, because like Hector's been around for a long time. Hector Rocco was somebody extremely knowledgeable, trained a number of champions, and his actual background was that of a cyclist, right? He was a competitive cyclist.
He was a two-time Olympian for Panama. And he did not box, but his brother and his father boxed.
Okay.
So he knew boxing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he wasn't involved with it. He was a cyclist.
Yes.
But when he came to New York, he got a job in the garment district when Manhattan had a garment district. Okay? Again, because
running up the street with the
cars everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? But he was working in the garment district, which was not far from where Gleason's was.
Yeah.
So he walked in to Gleason's and was just looking around and hanging out a little bit and liked what he saw. Yeah. And that's how he got started, just by hanging out, and then watching Freddie Brown and Ray Arcel, guys like that, really good trainers. Yeah. And he just picked up. Yes. But he was an athlete, so he knew what it meant to get in condition and to be an athlete. And he was smart. Smart guy.
Very smart. Yes.
And he became a real top-notch trainer.
Yeah. When I worked with him, I learned things that I had never learned before. I was always so. To me, I was like, how does he know these intricate little things? And I appreciated reading in retrospect than I did in that moment. You know what I mean? I listened to him like anybody. But so I gotta ask you one thing. There's a lot of legend about Hector Roca and Teddy Atlas. Were you there when that
I was there when it had his head split open by Teddy Atlas.
Exactly.
With a wrench in the chin. That was in Manhattan.
Okay, so that was in your place in Manhattan. What happened? Tell me from the top what happened.
Well, if you know Teddy Atlas, he's got a short fuse. Yes. I love Teddy. I know Teddy for years. He's very knowledgeable, very opinionated, but he has a real short fuse.
Yes.
Okay? Hector can get on people's nerves. Okay. And he got on Teddy's nerves, and Teddy doesn't mince words. So there was a wrench in the gym when they started fighting. Boom! He hit Hector over the head.
I always thought Hector hit him on the head. So he hit Hector. Huh? I know one of them ran out the gym and one chased him.
Bloody. Again, I own the gym now almost close to 40 years. We probably had half a dozen fights. Okay. Other than that, there's no fights. Some people argue once in a while. Someone's sparring, you get hit low, or you get hit after
the Pirouette brothers. Talking about the Pirouette brothers, Adolfo and Edwin.
Different, and they had another brother too. But he passed away early because of drugs. But we had all kind of characters. I mean, again, in the late 70s and the 80s, and probably in the early 90s, New York was a different place.
Yes, it was.
The mob was running things. There was drugs. There was a crack epidemic going on.
People think it's bad now, but you weren't here in the 70s and 80s. It's crazy.
What Times Square was.
Forget it.
The sin capital of the world. Every theater over there was a sex shop.
Exactly.
And it was a nasty place. But the mob guys trained here. John Gotti was in here. His son was in here. Sammy the Bull was a raider. He trained here all the time. The drug dealers were always coming and going and stuff. And so it was wild. It was a great mix. But everybody got along. Even today, like. When an actor comes in, or a politician, or somebody that's not a boxing person comes in, they're either intimidated or just on good behavior. Everybody gets along. They don't have any problems. When people leave the gym, I listen. They do what they do. Kids in the projects will steal your chain. The guys on Wall Street will steal more than everybody else combined. They're the biggest.
One guy on Wall Street.
You
take a chain. These guys take.
Billions.
Yes.
Billions. But up here, get along. And as you know, a boxing gym is different than any other kind of gym because it's people build relationships. Okay, the businessmen come in, they meet people.
They're already on the same level.
And they say, hey, these guys are good. They're concentrated, they're focused. And I'm going. Hey, you got a fight coming up? I'm coming. I'm buying a ticket. So it's a real nice thing. It's a great place. But you know, there's people like Hector, there's people like John Gotti. Not so much today. Today I have children and women. Back in my day, drug dealers and mafia guys.
So it's more like that's like guaranteed money too. It's an easy, it's a level, predictable.
Hey, listen.
Right.
Yeah, no, boxers in particular. You know, boxers for the most part don't have money.
Yes, exactly.
So you used to be fighting the boxers, chasing the boxers all the time. Today, hey, the business guy come in with a credit card, they put it on file, and it's an automatic deduction. You know?
Yes, exactly.
So it is. It's a lot different.
Yeah.
A lot different.
I remember, like, going back again into the 80s, into the earlier times. There were a few fighters that were banned or kicked out from Gleason's gym, and there weren't many, but I know there was a few, and I know that I was one of them. Do you remember that?
No, why do we throw you out? You're one of my heroes today. I threw you out in the gym?
Yeah. I mean, it's so not my nature, my character, but I think it was more or less from what I was involved in a sparring incident. It's the first time I heard this out. And the guy did something rather dirty. And then my father jumped in the ring and punched the kid on the mouth. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. With a bare knuckle and split his lip. And I was hanging out my head and his lip was split. And all of a sudden it was like, yo, you got to go. 'Cause, I mean, it was wild and all the rest. It was really wild. And
well, like I said, you know, there weren't a whole lot of incidents. But when there was one, then you have to address it.
You have to address it.
You know? I had one here like 2 years ago, where we had two trainers, and over a cracker.
Yes.
They were in Limp's room, playing dominoes. In between training people, right? So there's a box of crackers there. So one of the trainers grabs a box of crackers. Limp says, "Hey, you're not mine. You know, you better not touch the middle for me." He said, "I don't give a damn." And he's eating the guy's cracker. Right? So the owner finds out about it. They get into an incident out there and punching one another, hurt the guy's eye and stuff like that.
Wow.
So Then the 4 or 5 years ago, Crawford was training here. Crawford's a pretty good champion.
This Terrence Crawford.
Terrence Crawford.
Oh, man.
Okay. So I get a call from Top Rank. I say, "Hey, Crawford's in town. He's got a fight coming in. He wants to come in and train." I said, "Absolutely, love to have him. No charge. Bring him in. He's a champion, right?" He shows up with an entourage of 20 guys.
Oh my God.
And they're not nice.
Okay,
they're all over the place. Now Crawford starts jumping rope in one of the rings. I go over to his trainer. I say, "Listen, I have areas where you can jump rope. Don't jump on the canvas, you know." "No, I'm going to jump on the canvas." I always jump on. I said, "Listen, you can't jump on the canvas because that's what rips the canvas. Canvas has cost me $800. And when you go make your money, you're not going to come back and say, here's your new canvas, okay? So please, I got areas with mirrors and please go to." They wouldn't do it, so we booted them out.
Wow.
Then I got a call from a reporter out in Vegas who had heard about it. But anyway, but that was a minor thing. But one time we threw Judah out, Zab Judah and his whole family out.
Wow.
Because they got into a fight with one of the other trainers, and they both had gangs. So then they both brought up all these gangs. So we threw all that out. Not that much more. More than not, it's a fun place. It's a nice place.
What's the legend of Johnny Walker? Do you remember Johnny Walker? He was like junior middleweight. He was like a gym fighter, when he was amazing in the gym, but once you got him outside in the fight, he wouldn't produce. And I understood. What I heard was he was the only guy to ever draw him off an angle. It's like a legend thing now. What do you know?
But he was he lived in Jersey. He came over and trained.
Johnny Benz Walker, right?
He was a tough fighter. Do you remember a guy named Vinny Shelmo?
I don't.
Okay. Vinny Shelmo was the Mark Breeden in the amateurs before Mark. He knocked everybody out. He was a really, really good fighter and stuff like that. And then he turned pro and was nothing as a pro. So it happens. I mean, you see that a lot. And again, boxing is a mental game. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. I mean, because if you're talented and you're in the ring and you can spar and knock people like Hager down, or go in the ring and stay with them, or be in the ring and stand and go toe to toe with Roberto Duran or something, you should do that when you're a pro. People
don't do it. Now, Duran, one of the greatest fighters of all time, incredible athlete, and so hyper intelligent in the ring. When I see him, when he came to the gym and he sparred, he would come in off the first day of coming back, and he would line up sparring partners and go. It didn't matter. They kind of like James Cooney, right? So would you see him? What did he do? Is it innately him? What did he do so unique that made him, do you believe, the fighter he was?
Again, he had Freddie Brown, he had Ray Orcel.
Yes.
You couldn't get better trainers.
Yes.
But as you know, the fighter is the person that makes the fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. You can have the best gym, you can have the best trainers, it's the fighter that makes a good fighter. And what I like about him, he was just totally dedicated.
Yeah.
He wanted to go in there and fight, and he didn't fool around.
Yeah.
When he sparred with people, it wasn't pity pat. He went in there to fight. Okay?
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah.
That was him. And the shame of it is so many people in age, so many people saw the no mass fight and saw him later in life where he got heavy and stuff like that. They did not see this killer.
Yeah.
This guy was a killer.
Yes.
He was something else. So there's a lot of stories. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Muhammad Ali was here.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I love Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a comedian. Okay.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Now, when he was training, he was serious. When he was in the ring, he was serious. But if he wasn't training, he was a clown.
Yeah.
You know, he would come up to you and pull your ear, pull something out of your ear.
Yeah.
Every girl, every woman, female, little or big, he had a hug and kiss. Okay? So he fought his last fight with Trevor Berbick.
Yes.
And he was training at Gleason's, and that was the only fight that I was with him with.
Yes.
His other fights at Gleason's, I wasn't involved with the gym. I was still in college and stuff. But he came back to the gym numerous times after his fighting career for different events and stuff like that. Yeah. And he was a comedian. And when I told you that Roberto Duran used to fill up the gym and Gerry Cooney used to fill up the gym, he would fill up the gym.
Yeah.
Okay. But he would make a point, when he came to gym, he would make a point of going around to everybody in the gym.
Yeah.
Okay. The other fighters, people go to them and say, and fighters are nice, they'll take your autograph and they'll take a picture with you and answer your questions and stuff like that. But Ali would go to other people.
Yes, yeah.
The best story I have about Ali, this is later in his obviously after his career, we had a photo shoot up here with Vanity Fair. Okay. So he was having trouble walking at this point. So as his cars are coming, they say that they're approaching his right flight. I said, go to the side of my building. My egress has an elevator.
Yes.
We're on Front Street. I said, don't come to the front because then you have to climb up the steps. It's going to be difficult for him. Meet me on the side. I'll come down and we'll go up an elevator. Okay. So I'm standing on the street. Okay. His car, his limo pulls up. He's getting out. As he's getting out, there's a woman walking down the street talking on the phone. He goes over to the woman, puts his arm around the woman, grabs the phone, and starts talking to the person on the other end.
Oh my Lord!
This is the guy who's the number one person in the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
More people knew Muhammad Ali than anybody.
Yes.
And this guy, and he's a boxer.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's a boxer.
Yeah. It's a big personality.
Yeah. It's great.
Another amazing and another incredible fighter that also trained here was Wilfred Benitez, right? Yeah. And he said he started pretty young. He
won the title at 16.
Yeah, he won it at 16, and he trained here at Gleason's gym. There were some rumors that went on. Didn't he spar with Hector Camacho? Later on,
Arguello, Camacho.
Wow, Wilfredo Benitez sparred with Alexis Arguello.
Yeah, they're together in that picture right up there.
Yeah,
Howard.
right above the green belt, the WBC belt. Yeah, that's amazing, right there.
And then take a picture, slide it down. You see that picture in red, the one that's framed in red right under the belt?
Yeah.
That's what this area looked like when we moved in.
It was destroyed. It was a war zone. It was a war zone. So Wilfredo Benitez, I remember
Harold Weston.
Harold Weston. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's when we had all these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have one champion.
Yeah. The density was incredible. It was incredible.
And that's why the fighters were so good back then, because you would fight one guy, okay, then you got to fight another guy. It's just as good, and everybody had these reputations.
Yeah.
And one of the things that helped in '76, the Olympics were in Montreal. USA did very well.
Yes.
And CBS came in and bought the contract for all the fighters.
Mm-hmm.
So they were putting the fighters on the air every weekend.
Yes.
At Wide World of Sports, on ABC, NBC, CBS. They had the afternoon fights.
Yes.
Sports programs, and every once in a while they always had. So people knew they were American fighters. People knew their names. They saw them all the time. And it was so fun. Now.
Yeah, it's not the same. Well, they're living off the vapors of what fighters of yesteryear were. You know what I mean?
But HBO is out of it now. Showtime is out of it. You don't have. It's not that it's worse. It's different. That's all. And I can tell you, as I said, when I was growing up, my dad was involved with boxing and sports the whole time, and I can remember being a kid at the dinner table. My father saying the fighters today are nowhere near as good as they were when I was coming up. You know what? I said the same thing right now. These fighters don't compare to the fighters.
No, they don't.
So it's it's a change.
It always happens. Is it true? Is there any truth to the story that Wilfredo Benitez was knocked out or down in sparring by Hector Camacho?
I can't verify.
Yeah, you can't verify it? Okay, that's what I heard. I heard like that he'd been knocked down and trained. Obviously, this is in the latter side of Wilfredo Benitez's, because Camacho was much later into his heyday. But I heard that Wilfredo Benitez's father, when he was knocked down, he sort of like nudged his son, not very nicely, with his foot to get up. You didn't hear anything like that? You never saw anything like that?
Speaking of good fighters back there, who was a really, really good fighter, I think, Juan Laporte is amazing. He fought so many times right now.
Yeah.
He fought so many.
Yeah. Back to back. I mean, Rocky Valkyrie when he knocked out Rocky, and right after that, every single fighter he fought was like no one was outside the top 10. He didn't have anyone that had a name that you didn't know. Yeah.
I remember his fight with Salvador Sanchez.
Yes.
He was just going. Sanchez beat him.
Yeah.
But boy, I just thought that was a great fight.
It was. He fought an amazing fight against an incredible legendary fighter. And Juan doesn't get the recognition that he deserves.
No, he doesn't. It's a shame. But you know what, Juan, you guys still have your sense. What I find disheartening today as I get older, so many guys that I know, so many guys on the walls.
What do you think that is? Do you think it's just from just staying in it too long, like it's a necessity? Like for instance, I had my eye injury that really stopped my career from being able to go forward. 25, 26 years of age, I was out. You know what I mean? And so I think that kind of saved my brain a lot because
it's just I think it's repetitive.
Yeah.
And it's not just the fight.
Yeah.
It's the preparation.
Yes.
And you got 10 weeks of hard sparring before you go into a fight.
And you're getting there in the ring and you're sparring. I remember I was sparring Murky Sosa, Ronaldo Sipes, and Cat. Right? I mean, right here. And these guys were incredible fighters. Absolutely incredible, hard-punching guys, and you go in there, and it is like a fight.
Yeah,
it absolutely is. Like a fight.
Sparring is training.
Yeah.
But when you're preparing for the fight, then it's a fight.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
And so many times over there on Front Street, you had 4 rings going, champions in every ring, and you could see better goddamn fights out there in the sparring than you could at the garden.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I remember Arturo Gatti when he was over at the first incarnation right here in Brooklyn. And I came by one day and Hector was telling me there's this new kid, and I wrote a little something on him earlier because I don't know if not for Hector would he have won the world title. Because he was coming up and he was coming along, but Hector had him when he fought Tracy Harris Patterson, right? And And if Hector hadn't taught him some of the skills of boxing, like use your power, but also be able to box and keep the range and let your power kind of like tame him whenever he gets a little bit too, gets a little bit too carried away, too brave, and he sort of chill him out. Then he was able to go back to boxing, and then, things being what they were, disagreement between management and Hector, and they ended up parting companies. But I do believe Hector was a significant part of the development.
Absolutely, right. But also remember, you had Julio Troy, you had Zab Judah, you had Kevin Kelly, you had Junior Jones. All these guys are sparring with one another. And, there's a few pounds difference here and there, but everybody's working together.
Yes.
I mean, so you had good work.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I remember coming up here and sparring with Aaron Davis. One day, and you had Ernest Mateen's M16 Mateen. You know what I mean? And Murky Sosa and all these guys that are like, world champions. Yeah,
and then contenders.
Yes,
if they weren't champions, they were contenders.
Yeah. And in the original place, Chris Reed.
Chris Reed?
Yeah.
He was to
Teddy Express.
With Teddy Atlas was over in Manhattan.
In Manhattan, and also Donnie LeLong, I sparred with him over there with his place too. Yeah. And Donnie that right hand was lightning. Oh my God. Yeah, it was such a good time back then, and now the money's easier. You stabilized your business. What do you see? Where do you see Gleason's being 20 years from now? Where would you like it to be?
I would like to see the brand built.
Yes.
Not necessarily the gym, but for merchandise.
Yes.
And I think that's where I'm going to lead it.
Yeah. So like you make money while you're sleeping.
Yeah. That's what I want. The gyms are unique, and I've never opened up other gyms and stuff like that, because this gym is me.
Yes.
I'm the one I get up.
Exactly.
And it's not.
You get the passion, the fire for it too.
You're a gym owner, so you know what I mean. But there's not a whole lot of guys that like hanging out in the gym all day long.
Yeah.
I do. I happen to love it. I don't mind coming and going. I like being there.
Yeah.
I stay as late as I have to stay. But so the gym is me. It's my personality and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I'm not branching to 1,000 different places. I don't have the control. But I think that the name Gleason Gym is well recognized around the world.
Yes.
And I should get people that know how to merchandise that. Put money into it to make that.
Exactly. With the advent, with the popularity of fitness boxing, that is not waning at all. It's absolutely something that can be done. Is your programming transferable? Do you see it as being able to grow?
That can. But I love these gyms, like Shadow Boxing, because the people that go into Shadow Boxing, and these I call them boutique type of gyms, would never step foot into a fight gym. They wouldn't go into church. They wouldn't come over here to the Gleason gym. But what happens? They go in there because of the music and the women and whatever else is going on. And a certain percentage of them say, wow, what a workout. They weren't used to a boxing workout. So then they do go in and graduate up to a place. So I love them. The more than possible. Because I don't find them to be competition. Because the guys that go there won't come there anyway. But I do get the ones that get introduced to boxing. So those are fun. But the boxing workout is a terrific workout and can be put into that type of a gym. Very easy.
Yes. People are. Boxing obviously is so relatable to the human mind, to the human spirit, soul, energy. And the thing is, you're doing it with your hands, right? And because you're doing it, everyone's used to getting cardio with their legs. But that hand-eye coordination, it all goes directly to the brain and it stimulates the brain. And the endorphins that kick in, that sound when you make the right kind of impact, that all speaks to the human spirit in a very positive way, in a reinforcing way. It makes you want to do more and go to take it to another level. And I see you have real pros here working with, that used to be the main thing anyway. You used to have the main pros, guys who have fought for real, got to teaching everyday individuals. That's kind of changed a little bit, or you think it's still there?
No, it's because so many of the boxers, once they're out of boxing,
Yeah.
have nothing else for you to fall back
Yes,
on except for the balance
Yeah.
and the knowledge. And some of them are terrific.
Yes.
And they, you know, again, my membership is predominantly non-fighters.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't know what it is, so I don't want to make the noise, so I don't know how to stop the ball.
Very good.
You know, the majority of them here are non-competitors.
Okay.
So the fighters that are not the best trainers are more than adequate for a 7 or 8 year old kid or a female that just wants to get in good condition. But then I do have some pretty good trainers. You know, Kat Leon that you mentioned before. He's a decent trainer.
Yes.
And a lot of one. And you don't have to be a terrific fighter. Hector being the best example to be a good trainer. And I'll tell you, one guy who I loved and I thought was one of the best fighters Gleason's ever had was Carlos Ortiz.
Oh yes.
And Carlos Ortiz, I think, was one of the worst trainers I ever had.
Really?
Only because he thought everybody could do what he did.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And this guy, he was an exceptional fighter, just an exceptional fighter. And he trained people like him. He thought, and I used to tell him, listen, you can't, you gotta get more to the basics. And but I loved him. And he was here for the
High
rest
level of
for a
expectancy,
long
one of the
time.
greatest lightweights of all time, right? That Carlos Ortiz.
Yeah. And I loved Duran after him.
Yeah.
I thought that would always be a good fight.
Yeah.
So.
I get down to Atlantic City, the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Have you ever gone to that?
I haven't, but I know him, and
Yes.
I know Jackie Atkins.
Yeah. It's an incredible event that happens usually in September, and at the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. I met Duran like at a couple of press conferences years ago when we were kind of like in the same division. But I see him now, and he's still this outgoing individual with such an incredible energy, and you wouldn't think that he is the fighter that he is.
Hi. No, come in.
Come in. You can come in.
Yeah.
Look around.
Is it that time already?
Okay.
You're going
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Do you want me to get the other one out there, or wait till he comes in? It looks like it's gonna rain. Should we bring things inside?
Yeah, tell Josh
Joshua.
to bring things.
And I'll see you.
It's nice
When?
meeting you again. I'll see you again.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank
Ciao.
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
So the times are changing, but yeah, many of the trainers out here are ex-boxers and stuff like that. And that's very helpful. I like the fighters to do that because it gives them something.
Yeah. And for the people that actually come here, it gives them something that they can talk about.
Yeah, the mix of having professionals and amateurs and business people is a winning combination.
Yes. Yeah.
Because just the way you just said, people come in here and I just trained next to this one, I sold that one, stuff like that. And to me, it's always been a winning combination. So
No, it works. Pete, do you see? Again, I kind of touched this again a little bit earlier, but people that come to Gleason's gym. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me try this again. This is my first nature. But so you want to see Gleason's gym get more into like the quality of its name, the quality of the level of boxing here, and you want to project the name forward. And in terms of doing that, I'm just asking how is not the best way to do it to put together video online programs for people. Giving them training experiences online, so anywhere in the world they can be touched by it.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to work out a plan where I can have foreign memberships. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Let's say you're in London or you're in Paris.
Yeah.
You can join Gleason's gym. For that, we'll give them different videos. We'll give them tapes. We'll give them a newsletter once a month. If they are in New York, they get to. So I want to try to increase the membership by having people that are not resident in New York.
Yes.
And that's one of the ways we do it. As far as the merchandising and the marketing end of it, you have to hire somebody, or I have to hire somebody. Okay. Again.
And
I was kidding before when I said I'm the old man. I am. I'm a relic. I don't understand half of this stuff. And the guys come in like the well, I introduced you before, the marketing guy. He's telling me, well, you have to do this and you have to. That's how people look at. That's how people find things. And I just
doesn't make sense. You just got to change it.
Things are changing.
Yes.
Again, New York isn't the mecca. If you ask kids today. I'm sure a lot of them don't know Gleason's gym. You ask somebody of Europe here or my era, of course everybody knows Gleason's gym. So you have to change in the way I can get. Thank you.
This is from the last one I just
Okay,
did.
thank you. The way to reach this new population, this new generation, I have to be taught.
Yes.
I don't know. I literally don't understand a hell of a lot that's going on in this world.
It changes.
We don't talk politics or anything like that up here because you can't.
It's too polarizing.
Too polarizing. But I don't understand why. How come people don't rally behind the USA? They're supporting Putin. I don't understand.
Makes sense, right?
Yesterday was D-Day, which I always think is an amazing thing. Half the kids here don't even know what D-Day was. And then I think if the soldiers that participated in D-Day, if they knew what was going on in the country today, they would say, fuck you, I'm
Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this?
My son is a lieutenant in the Marines. And I just feel like what's the sacrifice for? Why are you putting yourself out there if it's not going to be respected, if it's not going to be, you know what I mean? I know people have different, everyone's a conspiracy theorist, and everyone, you know what I mean? They pull doubt on everything, and I'm like, well, how is Putin your guy when he's done nothing for you? I don't get it. He doesn't represent you, he doesn't have your interests at hand.
It's nuts.
By
the way, all veterans train for free. So when your son is back in New York, you can train.
Oh, sweet. I'll definitely have to bring him through. So in the interim, we're bringing up new fighters. We got this kid right here. His name is Blue. His name is Elijah Blue Pond. And I loved, more than anything, I know a couple of kids that I worked with before, they had their first fight with Gleason's. And that's like the epic place,
Let's do it again.
We'd like to get through. When do you, now you do a lot of amateur fights. Do you have a lot coming up?
18 a year.
18
You know Sonia?
Yes.
She's my matchmaker.
Yes, okay.
And so I have one tomorrow, Saturday. I have one on the 29th.
Okay.
I have two in July, but I think they're all part of the 20.
Okay. Yeah.
But
we're trying to get on the one coming up after because tomorrow was too soon. Yeah.
Well, I have 29th. You have to write me or text me all his information, age, weight, and stuff like that. I won't remember.
Okay.
I will walk good. Okay, and then I'll give it to Sonia.
Thank you. I do really appreciate it.
And any one of them, any of your projects. Just send me a note and I can give it to you.
Okay. What's that? I guess in parting, what's the final message? The message you love to kind of like put out to the world, or on the beauty of boxing, the beautiful beauty of living.
That's the message I want to know. I want people to know that boxing is a safe and wonderful sport that helps more people than anything else. ESPN did a survey several years ago where they used physicians, medical people, journalists, athletes, and they surveyed quite a few different sports. Boxing came out to be the safest and the best pound-for-pound sport.
Yes.
But once I say that, and of course as a boxing person, everybody's like, sure, that's what you got to say. But the truth of the matter is, you don't have to go into the ring and take a punch. But if you learn the sport of boxing, and you become concentrated and focused, and you learn how to overcome your fear, you can do so much better in life. Okay, you can do better in school, you're going to do better as an individual, whatever your type of employment is. We have people that come in, they get off high blood pressure medication, they get off diabetes medication. We've had people that have had cancer, people with remission. Diet and exercise solves most of your problems, and the sport of boxing gives you the best exercise possible. So just try it. No matter where you live in the world, anywhere in the world, a small hole in the wall or a big city, and there's a boxing gym there. Just try it. Okay, just try it for a day. See whether you like it. So that's why I'm challenging everyone out there that wants to listen. Try boxing for one day. That's it.
Final parting question. Who is the greatest, to you, greatest fighter of all time, and who is your favorite fighter today?
I think the greatest fighter of all time, Joe Louis.
Joe Louis.
I like Joe Louis.
Yeah.
I like Joe Louis because of what he did at the time he did it.
Yes.
He was a very, very good heavyweight. His weight as a heavyweight is nothing compared with the heavyweights are today. But in his time, he fought everyone, and he won everyone. And it was a time in this country where there was a terrible divide, similar today. There was a racial divide, there was a political divide, there was a war getting started, and he united the United States, and people backed him and supported him. And I think that was a tremendous thing. Another person that did very, very similar was Muhammad Ali. But I think that Joe Louis was the first.
Yes.
So I give him the accolades over Ali because he was the first to do it.
Yeah, yes.
Who's my favorite fighter out there today? I'm embarrassed to tell you that I don't have a favorite fighter.
Yeah.
I don't follow the pros today like
Yes.
I did before. It's much too watered down. Okay, when I first started, things changed. But when I first started at the gym, there were 8 world champions,
Yes.
and there was 1 world champion per weight class.
Yeah.
When you were the heavyweight world champion, you were known around the world. You were the man in the world. Today, there's too many. And again, a person that is a good fighter and pound for pound this, pound for pound that, they don't fight enough. They don't have the number of amateur fights. They certainly don't have the number of pro fights. Now, who is it? It's not their fault. So I can't fight or fault the athlete. That's the sport that we're in today, okay? And money has a lot to do with it. I mean, hell, if I made $15-16 million for a fight, I wouldn't want to go back in the gym and start busting my chops in. I want to enjoy it a little bit. Okay? So the times are different. And also, today, you unless you're an exceptional athlete and have people behind you, you can't become a fighter. You're a part-time fighter. You have to get a job. You have to work for a living, and then after work, you can come into a gym and start training, and hopefully that you'll progress. So times are different, and I don't have a favorite fighter. You know, Mayweather was in here, and Mayweather was a good fighter, and you can't fault Mayweather. He fought the people that he wanted to fight. You know, but when he says that he he's better than all these other fighters up here, and Gerry,
it's hard to believe.
You know, it's not it. It's not it. So he's a good fighter. Crawford is a good fighter.
Yes.
Crawford's been in here since the time we threw him out. He's been back. We've amended everything. And he's a good fighter. But he doesn't fight enough. And there's not enough good fighters for him to fight.
It's really shows potential.
You were fighting. I mean, you had a tough fight. There's no such thing as easy, but the next guy is just as tough, if not tougher. And there's one champion after another champion, or a contender after another contender. That's not the way in boxing today. So I don't have a favorite today.
You know, it's almost like the contenders don't fight each other anymore. Like you used to be able to go go on TV and you would maybe a Saturday morning or a Sunday
Again,
afternoon.
I blame it on money. WBC doesn't want to fight the WBA, doesn't want to fight the IBF because if they got demand and they're making money, they don't want to lose their champion because then they don't make money. It's tough. Money hurt the sport.
But if there were a nuclear war, two things would survive: cockroaches and boxing.
Well, my final comment. I'm going to tell you, Bruce Silverglade is going to tell you when the first fight started.
Yeah, please.
As soon as there were 3 men on earth, 2 of them got into a fight and the other guy was a spectator yelling at him. And it hasn't stopped since.
It hasn't stopped since. I love it. Thank you so much, Bruce Silverglade.
My pleasure, man.
It's
My
such
pleasure.
a pleasure seeing you again. I love you. You're
Please
so
come
great.
on.
You've been a great friend to boxing. This man is the icon. And if you're
Thank
ever
you for saying that.
over in New York City, you need to come to Brooklyn. You need to come to Gleason's Boxing Gym. This is the spot. This is Michael Olajide Jr. for Sugar, Soap, and Stretch, and we're out. Thank you.